Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Slypatch podcast. I'm Digital Chimera. You can call me Spencer,
And I'm Captain Bean. You can call me Tyler.
and it's time to
Ready up. I didn't do the finger gun. I missed it.
That's fine. You can do whatever you want. Welcome back to
I
the
did it
show,
under the
everybody.
table right here. I don't know why. Like, I literally was like, but I was like, I realized it's off screen. And I'm like, you did it? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, I'm shooting from the hip, you know?
It's okay. It's okay. Quicker on the draw that way.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Glad to have you back, and we're excited to record another one for you today. Today, we're going to be talking all about our experience with tabletop RPGs. So, if you're unfamiliar with the territory, we're talking Dungeons and Dragons, we're talking Pathfinder, we're talking some more obscure things like Star Wars from Fantasy Flight Games.
There's the Cthulhu one. I don't remember what that
Call of
one's
Cthulhu.
Call of Cthulhu, yeah.
I haven't played it, but I've heard it's a good time.
I mean,
there's always dungeons and doggos.
You got Cthulhu involved, bro. It sounds dope. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it does. But yeah, we're gonna get into that later. But I think first we're gonna start with our warm up. What positives going on in your life right now, Tyler?
So for my warm up round, I got kind of a twofold thing. One, I got to mention right here. So if you guys can see my shirt, obviously, I'll stand up a little bit so you can kind of see. This is we had the video game episode, and I was just telling Spencer how I'm so sad I didn't wear this last week. So this shirt is an Among Us shirt, and the fabric you can see there. This is actually made by my really good friend Amanda Kaiser.
It's really nice quality fabric too.
She took the fabric.
It looks comfy.
Dude, look at the zipper. It's actually a character. It's hard to see on the camera.
Oh, I didn't even notice that
Yeah,
until
the
now.
zipper is actually one of the characters.
Is an amogus.
It's awesome. So Amanda is a amazing seamstress. She's an amazing model. She's an amazing mom and wife and friend. But she's an amazing seamstress as well. She actually makes her son William. She makes a ton of his clothes, and he loves them because they're unique. He goes to school, and nobody has clothes like him because mommy made my clothes. It's dope.
That's cool.
So it's really cool. Actually, speaking on William again, and Amanda, if you see this, you'll laugh. But for Halloween, I was Fat Thor for Halloween because my buddy William, okay, was Captain America, okay, Captain America, but also Captain America with Mjolnir. So then, during Halloween, he passed it to me.
That's funny.
Pass me Mjolnir back. But my buddy William was Captain America, and I was Fat Thor for him. His mom, his dad, my wife, our friend Kareen, and they all did Loki variants. So,
Okay.
Because the Loki show had come out, so they were all Loki variants, which was really cool. Which, man, Joel is Amanda's husband. Joel, you looked so dope. He was snazzy. He was like the President Loki one or whatever. Like with the suit. He looked dope, man.
I love it.
But anyway, so that's the first thing I want to talk about. Is the shirt. I want to shout my friend out. But the other positive I want to talk about, man, and you were actually a part of this last night, bro. So it's Slypatch Gaming. For those who attend and maybe those who haven't been there before, we love our venue. We love where we're at, but it's a little smaller.
It's a little tight, and it's an awkward layout.
It is a little bit awkward layout because it's kind of a triangle shape. It starts out really wide at the front and kind of narrows down towards the back. So for the setup that we have normally, we have 30 seats. Okay, we were able to luckily pull. We do keep extra tables and chairs in the back. We actually had to pull out an extra table last night. We had 33 participants in our Friday Night Magic, literally one seat less than max capacity for us. We took pictures. Spencer, like I said, was a part of it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It was literally our busiest night that we've ever had. Now, part of that is it was a new set released, and we talked about that. Kamigawa that came out. People always want to show up for that. But I mean, we have just. But it's also just it speaks to like how we've grown, and every single week, it's new people coming back, and like the people that we saw, like I think I saw maybe 2 new people there last night, but from like the regular people that like maybe you don't make it a Friday because you got something going on, life, that happens, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But for the most part, the people that were there were like regular people that we're used to seeing, and there were actually some people that we usually see that weren't there. you know, and we were max capacity.
Yeah.
So we love that. We thank you guys for that. Like it was such an amazing experience for us.
Yeah, I even got one of my friends from high school to come out.
Yeah.
He lives down in Racine.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, he was like one of the two people I was talking about that was
Yeah.
new.
Yeah. I don't think I actually introduced you to him, but you probably met him. His name's Brock.
Yeah, I met Brock. Yeah, I didn't mean, but yeah,
He's a cool kid.
Like it was him, and then there was one person in the CDH pod that was, that was newer that I never met before. But dude, like yeah, the store was rocking last night. And that's including the snowstorm, like the squall.
Yeah, it was
the squall that we had.
Yeah,
come in,
it was a little bit of a mess last night.
Yeah, we had a snow squall come in that luckily passed pretty fast. It only lasted about an hour.
Yeah,
but it was like zero visibility. The wind was blowing up to 50 miles an hour. Snow everywhere. And
I decided to leave right in the middle of it because I didn't want it to get worse.
Yeah, and I talked to people. Like I told people, hey, look, there's a storm coming in. We might have people go home. Just to be safe because we don't know what's going to blow over. But it blew over pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
The CDH crowd ended up staying a little bit later, and I didn't get out of there until like 1 a.m.
Oh, wow.
I mean, they like to stick around, play. I like seeing them play. But, yeah, that's my positive, man, is Slypatch is growing and doing great. And, again, to speak to that also on the videos, like, we've had so many views with the videos. We've had so much positive feedback still.
It's been surreal.
For me as a business owner and someone who's trying to grow the brand, I couldn't be happier with where I'm at right now.
And for me, who's other than the podcast and other than being your friend, I'm entirely unaffiliated with Slypatch, and as a consumer at your store, and as just someone who's an avid fan of the shared interest, it's very exciting. Like the energy in the store last night was awesome. Seeing a bunch of people that I've never met, seeing a bunch of people I've known for a long time, all in the same room playing game with, even some people were sitting down at the table and playing brand new cards that they had got, which is really cool. It was just a lot of fun.
That's like I said, man. I couldn't be happier where we're at right now.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I'm excited. So
and it's only going up.
The only like big worry I have is we don't have any more room right now. One of the cool things though, and Jason, I know, so Jason's my landlord. We've talked about him. Mm-hmm. At least each quarter, like when we have the pre-releases, we will be able to use some space next door.
Oh, that's awesome!
I actually talked to Jason about that today. He has some really cool. So the Shoebox Club, again, I'm gonna shout him out. That's his business. It's not quite open yet. He's almost there. He's just working out some kinks. But he has there's some lounge areas like the couches, right? And there's the tables there, so we'll be able to use some of that space for people to play at pre-releases
really
and
cool.
stuff like that too. So, that's my biggest worry is more for pre-releases than just the every Friday night, because the every Friday night thing, like I think we're still going to hit our 20 to 24 people, on average.
I'm worried about pre-release, but I'm also worried about release weekend.
Or release weekend, yeah, just like
because pre-release would have been big if you guys had done a Friday night pre-release. But then also just opening weekend for Commander was way more than you expected.
Yeah, but that's the thing is he knows that once a quarter, like those 2 weeks that and he's fine with it.
That's awesome.
So
it's always nice to have a good person like that.
Dude, my landlord's awesome. Jason, love you, bud.
I love you too. Thanks for the store to play at.
So Spencer, what's going on with you, bro?
Well, I've got 2 positive things. For one, I just got my hair cut by my boy Abel out in Waukesha. If you guys want a card, he's sick. He does the color too.
You got turn.
Yeah, no, he does the color too. So right now, if you guys can't tell, it's actually 2-tone. Yeah. Unless you count my natural hair color, but it says darker blue and this lighter blue, and I've had that rocking for a little while.
Yeah.
But I just got it cut on Wednesday, and it looks fucking sick. But here's the thing, I also wear it up sometimes. So right now I have it down, but I can also kind of put it up. And it looks good that way too.
Everybody,
but
let's get a whistle in the comments.
But yeah,
let's get a little whistle in the comments for Spencer.
Yeah, I'm loving the new haircut, and he got the beard trim. I know it was getting bushy and wide.
Speaking of,
and it looks on that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my third positive thing is Tyler's got the wizard beard with the little curl.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Getting to the point where we were talking about it right before the podcast. I was like, dude, I can't get this curl out of my beard. He's like, it's cool, man. It looks like a wizard.
Yeah, he looks like a goddamn wizard up in here. I love it.
You shall not pass.
I was just my other positive thing was I was just at my buddy Zach and Kurt's house. They hosted a all-day marathon of the extended Lord of the Rings editions. I was there for about 12 hours. We had Jimmy John's for lunch and then Domino's for dinner. I got there at around 10:30 and I didn't leave till 10:30.
I mean, bro, that is a day right there.
It was a lot of fun. We just we weren't fully absorbed in the movie because we've seen a lot of it, but not all of us had seen the extended edition, so there was some new stuff there. But we also just got to shoot the shit and share memes about the franchise and all that for all day, and it was just, oh man, it was.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, exactly. You get to watch the the really cool, intense parts that you want to watch.
Yeah.
The stuff that
Helm's Deep, Battle of Minas Tirith. We got to see all the cool parts and shoot the shit.
Yeah.
During the slower parts, and it was just a lot of fun.
Give a little critique and stuff going on during it too. Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
Peter Jackson, you did a great job, but. You're not flawless. There's some things you could have changed.
I know. I think it's flawless.
I mean,
look, I'm a fanboy. It's hard for me to critique something that I just really, really like, which I know is a flaw that I have personally. But I also don't give a fuck.
yeah, but I guess the point I'm trying to make though is again, especially I'm a little bit older generation, as you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you're a dinosaur. I get it.
Yeah. But as someone who read all the books as well.
That's fair.
And there's just little things, just little
There's also really big things. I mean, the ghosts weren't in the books.
It's true. That's. Well, I was trying to be nice and say little things because I was trying not to critique your boy too hard.
No, I'm okay with critique, and I actually do critique sometimes some things.
And to be honest, here's the thing too: I can't necessarily critique him because that could also be a studio call.
True.
You know what I'm saying? We don't have in the budget. For example,
I also personally think that the ghosts were way cooler than whatever they did in the books.
Yeah. But here's the thing. So I was watching the thing, not too long ago, a little video about how one of the most iconic, remembered scenes from a movie is the cross country run by Forrest Gump in Forrest Gump, right?
Mm-hmm.
The studio told them no. The studio told them, we don't have the money for this. We can't afford the insurance for this. All this stuff, right? So actually, the story out there was an interview where Tom Hanks was interviewed, and I can't remember the director's name. I'm sorry, it doesn't matter. I don't think you're ever going to see this anyway. But if you do, I do apologize for not. But the director came to Tom and said, "Look, dude, I need you to go from being someone who works for me to being my partner on this." He's like, "All right, well, what do you need?" He's like, "The studio says we can't shoot this, and it has to be in the movie. It is so iconic to the movie. It is such a story tire in the movie, right? I need you to do this, And so the director and Tom Hanks paid out of pocket, and they told the studio, but they negotiated with the studio, obviously, a little bit more of a, more return on my investment, right? But they paid out of pocket to make that happen.
That's awesome.
You know what I'm saying? So that's super cool to me. And so that's the thing is Peter Jackson, again, I'm sitting here giving you shit, whatever. But there's things that maybe he couldn't have done because of the studio. So that being said, overall, and especially the extended editions, as someone who again has read the books, watched the extended editions,
it's awesome.
Bro,
there's so much.
When you told me when you got so. Me and Spencer. By the way, guys, just today is actually a Saturday. We usually record on Thursdays.
We're gonna probably be moving.
To Saturdays, yeah. But we both had some stuff come up on Thursday, and we didn't get to record. So we were trying to figure out a time because I'm actually, and we'll talk about this in my mains later. I'm having to travel back home next week. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But we were trying to figure out a time to do this recording, and he was like, "Well, dude, I'm busy." He goes, "We can do it either before 10 a.m. or after 10 p.m. And I was like, what the hell do you have going on for 12 hours? And I was like, okay.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. And I was like, all right, well, I'm not an early morning person, so I was like, let's just do it after 10. And so he gets here and he's like, bro, I just watched all the extended versions of Lord of the Rings. And I was like, well, you suck because you didn't invite me. But yeah, when I heard about that, like, that's awesome, dude.
I know you weren't a morning person.
I can come in on movie. Like, I can miss one of the movies. It's fine.
That's fair. That's fair.
Could have came in on movie 2, whatever.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Next time.
Yeah, next time. Maybe we'll do it with Star Wars, which we'll talk about. Is going to be a future episode like we talked about. So
yes. I'd love to rewatch some of the Star Wars movies. I haven't seen the original trilogy since I was probably 6.
Really? Oh my gosh,
I
dude.
haven't seen.
I rewatched.
I've only seen episode 3, and it was like the year after it came out. So I was.
So you only.
I think that movie came out in 2007, so I was 8 when I saw it.
Early 2000s. Wow. Gotta get him some. Yeah, dude. I probably watch both trilogies once a year, and now that they have all 9, like, I'll probably start watching all of them. But like, I love Star Wars. So.
I do too.
There's a lot of people who hate on, like, the 1 through 3.
I think there's certainly, like, valid criticisms of all of the movies in different. Well, we'll get into that when we do the Star Wars episode. But to finish up,
a little teaser for you.
we'll get into that meat and potatoes another day.
We're gonna have Nick and Mello on for that one, so
true.
They're gonna be able to give way more criticism than we do, bro.
True. Yeah. Well, actually, I do have a lot of criticism, but it's different than most people's. I'd say.
For sure.
And then what was I gonna do for my other warm up? ADHD Gober. We'll talk about it another time.
Well, you just talked about 2 things. You talked about your hair.
Yeah.
And you talked about.
There was a different thing, but it doesn't matter.
I know. I think you're thinking about your mane. Because we talked about it.
Maybe. It's fine.
It's okay.
My life's good.
Squirrel.
That's all you guys need to
know.
No. Squirrel.
What time is it now, man?
Well, wrapping up our warm-up, we're getting into the campaign, as I like to call it, the meat and potatoes, and we're talking about tabletop RPGs.
Tabletop RPGs.
Now, I've got to say, going directly into this, they have absorbed my life.
Trust me.
I started playing D&D 5th edition, the first tabletop RPG of any kind that I tried, in the summer of 2015.
That was 5th edition?
Yes. It came out in early 2014.
God bless, I'm so old.
Yeah.
When did 3.5 come out? Because that's how old
I was probably 6.
I'm just saying, like, that was the main one that I played. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
But so real quick, to speak on that before we get like too in detail, real cool fact, and you probably know this. Mm-hmm. Creator of D&D.
Gary Gygax.
It's from
Waukesha,
Wisconsin, which Waukesha is just.
Or wait, no, was he from Lake Geneva?
No, yeah, because that's where Gen Con was.
Yeah,
Lake Geneva. But I was just saying he's from Wisconsin. So the point is he's from Spencer's home state, my new home state.
Yeah.
Gary Gygax.
Hometown.
Dude, like, such an awesome guy that, like, here's the thing. Here's how you know you made it is you became a Simpsons character.
It's true.
Right? Like, that's how you know you made it. Like, everything else in life. There's 2 things. If you're a regular celebrity, you become a Simpsons character. If you're in music, and we'll talk about this later, Weird Al parodies one of your songs. Like, that's how you know you made it, right? Like, those are like the 2 things.
Yep.
But yeah, so Mr. Gary Gygax was the creator of D&D. It is now owned by Wizards of the Coast.
Our good friends who also own Magic the Gathering.
Who produce Magic the Gathering. Of course, they are technically a subsidiary or umbrellaed by Hasbro now as well.
I don't know if this is true, but I heard a rumor that WotC might be splitting and becoming its own independent company. I have no idea if that is just rumor, or if I don't have the full details and I just happened to read the title of an article.
We'll get into that a little bit more in a different Magic episode, but
Fair enough.
I'll give you a little hint to it. So John Finkel, you know who John Finkel is?
Nope.
John, you play Matt? Oh, well, you're still younger than me. So John Finkel is regarded as it's a toss up between him and Kai Boudet on who is the GOAT of Magic. Like
best player?
GOAT meaning it's an acronym for greatest of all time, right?
Yeah.
So John Finkel and Kai Boudet are like
Like, as in
1A,
playing the game?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. John Finkel was very prominent in the 90s, early 2000s.
Okay.
He has a card, Shadow Mage Infiltrator. It's a 1 colorless blue-black, 1/3. When he hits you, draw a card. And that was his invitational card.
Oh, okay.
Kai Budé has one. It's some kind of wizard or prince. I'm sorry, Kai. I don't remember it, but it's a wizard that you can sacrifice to counter a spell. It's a creature that you can sacrifice.
Okay.
Anyway.
So kind of like Glen Elendra Archmage.
Yeah. So Kai Budé is German. He's German, and but anyway, one of the first like top tier level Hall of Famers, John Finkel. Okay. John Finkel has a company. What is that called? Has to do with like stocks and stuff like that. Hedge fund. He has a hedge fund group. He has a hedge fund group. Okay. That owns 2.6% of Wizards of the Coast.
Okay.
And because of that 2.6%, Hasbro and they're listening. What they want to do is they want to pull Magic the Gathering and him be. Yeah. So like I said, we'll talk more about it when we get a little bit more details and when we get into another Magic episode.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's the thing. But anyway, as of right now, going back to the tabletop RPGs, and especially D&D, that's the Godfather. That's the
Yep.
That is owned, like I said, it's owned by WotC, Wizards of the Coast. That WotC is our acronym for that, as people know, or don't if you don't know. So D&D has been like so prominent, and it's even in like pop culture now. Stranger Things.
Yep.
If anybody out there has watched Stranger Things on Netflix, right? The whole first season, that was how all the kids, knew each other, was they played D&D together.
And not only to mention that, but they also like liken the monsters they face to traditional D&D monsters.
Mm-hmm.
You had the first like big alien thing they called the Demogorgon, which is in D&D one of the big demon lords.
Yep.
And then they called the second season guy the Mind Flayer.
The Mind Flayer.
Which is one of the aberrations that exist in the far realm of D&D's multiverse. So,
So a funny offshoot to the Mind Flayer is they did a Stranger Things skin thing in Smite, and they did the Mind Flayer as one of the skins for one of the characters.
That's
so it's really cool how it reaches throughout different things. It's like that's the thing, is like something like D&D has reached and touched like so many things.
Yeah, and it's only coming more.
Yeah,
which I love.
like I brought up The Simpsons earlier, so it's been in Hollywood, it's been in video games that aren't even in different things. So like D&D is awesome. Talking about Hollywood again, Joel Manganiello.
Joe Manganiello.
Manganiello. I'm butchering your last name. I'm sorry, dude. I hope you see our podcast, but if you never do, it's okay. But dude, he's like one of my favorite celebrities in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Because, dude, he has like an entire dungeon, man.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And he also has a clothing line and stuff like that for it. But
and then you also think about like homegrown D&D becoming mainstream with things like Critical Role, which I've talked a little bit about. I'm a big fan of theirs. I mean, Joe's even been on the show. He played in the very final fight against Vecna in the first campaign as a dragonborn named Archon, and he actually stole the hand of Vecna right from under the party's noses and teleported out. Ooh. It was wild.
Joe, why you do him dirty like that, man?
He walked up bloodied from a fight with a Death Knight. Solo fight with a Death Knight. He walked up, helped them kill Vecna, and he's like doing a little bit of a monologue, telling like how we have to destroy the hand, and he goes to like stab it or whatever, or like slash at it with his axe, and instead he goes and cuts off his own hand, grabs the hand of Vecna, slips it on, and teleports. It was mad, and Joe was planning this the whole time because Archon's evil. He works for Tiamat.
Oh my god!
And so now, in the world of Exandria, Tiamat's forces have the hand of Vecna, which we haven't seen any further stuff with, but that's insane, so fucking cool. I love it.
That's awesome. And so, We're getting excited about this because we know a lot of the lore and things like that. For example, those who play Magic maybe don't know a lot of D&D lore, but we had the D&D set come out recently, and we had the Eye and Hand of Vecna be actual cards.
And the no, not the Necronomicon, the Book of Vile Deeds and the Book of Exalted Light.
Yeah. And so that's the thing. But so we're getting fanboyish, over here with our stuff. Exactly. But it's it's for those who maybe aren't as familiar with it, man. Like those are some really powerful things. So Tiamat is a god. It's a deity.
Evil dragon god. She's got 5 different colored heads that all breathe different element types.
I saw this stupid meme.
Yeah.
It said that Tiamat, because they pronounce it Tiamat, and said they said Tiamat is only the middle head. The other ones are Tia Bob, Tia John, Tia Joe, like a bunch of these country names. And I was like, that's cool. That's funny. Like it's not great, but it's like kind of like those dad jokes I like.
I hate it.
It was great. I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna save that.
Oh, that's funny. But yeah, one of the things that I always like to talk about when people ask me about D&D, which happens more frequently than I might or than people might normally think.
Yeah.
It just happened the other day. I was helping a friend at school with homework.
Okay.
And she's like, "Yeah, what do you got going on this weekend?" I'm like, "Not much. I'm gonna watch Lord of the Rings on Saturday, and then I'm gonna go play D&D." And she's like, "Oh, what's that like?" And I'm like, "Well." Because when people ask, like, there's different
best thing in my life.
There's different levels like of explanation, right? So what I do is I start out with very base explanation, and if they are interested, I go level and levels higher.
You start escalating it. Yeah.
And so I always start, for anyone here who aren't familiar, I always start with D&D and tabletop role-playing games as a whole are an interactive, cooperative storytelling experience to play with your friends.
Yeah.
There's someone who is crafting a story, crafting all the characters and the plot hooks and all of this stuff and building the world around you, called either the Game Master, the Dungeon Master.
Commonly referred to as the DM or Dungeon Master.
Yeah, either DM or GM for short.
Yeah.
And then every other player at the table, other than the DM or GM, they have made a character, and they are there to portray that character and run through the adventure that the DM builds for the party.
Yeah.
And they focus solely on role-playing that character and getting into the mindset. And, like, there's different levels of D&D that you can play at, but fundamentally at its core, it is you sitting down with friends and telling a story together, because it's mostly improv-based.
Yep.
And it is you as your character, not as you, making decisions based on what comes at you.
And we've talked about this in a previous episode where we talked about where there's different types of players. Like there's different core types of players.
Correct.
You have your guys that are just like super into the RPG side of the role-playing side of it, where it's an escape for them. They get to be someone that they're not in their everyday life. They get to act out a character, those types of people. You have people that are just your dice rollers, like I said,
Yep, power gamers.
The power gamers, exactly. It's like, I'm here, and I'm going to play my character, but when do we get to combat,
Yeah.
I just want to roll these dice and see, and then, that kind of thing. You have the combination people like that. And then you just have your casual types that, they get into it and they enjoy it, but they just like being there and like watching.
They like the experience with friends.
With people, exactly.
Rather than necessarily the specific game they're playing.
Right, like they don't want to be the main person that people are focused on. Like in every core group, and this is just my experience, and you can tell me you've DM'd, I've DM'd, in every core group you have 1 or 2 people that are your main people that are going to help you run that storyline. Because they are your main role-playing people. They're your main people that want to help get through the storyline with you, and stuff. And then you have sometimes, like I said, like for example, I can give one. This is
people who are there along for the ride.
Along for the ride, but they enjoy it. Like they want to be a part of it.
They still enjoy the game, but they're there.
But they don't want to be the decision makers. They don't
Yeah.
want to be the people who determine how that thing goes. Whereas other people do.
Yeah.
Some of those because there's power gaming in the role playing sense. Sometimes too, of people who like want to be the leader of the group and make the decisions for people. So like it's really cool because there's so many different personalities. Within the people that play in those games.
Yeah. And so I mentioned this in one of our previous episodes. I think it might have been our first one. I'm not sure. But I'm going to mention it again here since it's relevant. I read a book a while back about how not to make your game suck. And it's a wonderful book. I had a lot of fun reading it, and there's a lot of good advice in
You
there.
happen to remember the author's name?
I don't off the top of my head, but I'm going to link...
I'm going to look it up for you too, though. But go ahead.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, while you're talking.
I'm going to link it in the description below, the link to the Amazon page, because it is a wonderful book if you are a DM or GM or want to be one of those things and are maybe nervous or unsure of your abilities, or if you just want a little bit of advice from someone who's experienced. It's called How Not to Make Your Modules Suck, because it was like kind of geared towards making modules, but it definitely applies to just running a homebrew campaign too.
Okay.
But he had this section in there about what he considered the four kinds, or the four like pillars of gameplay in Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop role-playing games as a whole. And it was exploration, social, power, and I don't remember exactly what he called it, but the fourth was basically like progression, like acquiring new things, new abilities, new items, that kind of stuff, like gaining power progressively.
So there's a book called, it's by Goodman Games, How to Write Adventure Modules That
Yeah,
Don't Suck?
that's it.
Okay.
That's it. How to Write Adventure Modules That Don't Suck.
Okay.
Is what it was called. But I also found a lot of good information for just running a homebrew campaign as well. That's not a module, because running a homebrew campaign is kind of like writing a module. You're just not writing it down necessarily.
So it doesn't credit a specific author. It just says by Goodman Games.
Okay.
So yeah, for those who are interested, it's on Amazon right now for $29.99.
Yep, I'll link it in the description later
we'll
for you.
We'll definitely link it. But yeah, it's called How to Write Adventure Modules That Don't Suck by Goodman Games. And me and Spencer have had conversations on this, a couple of times. And for me, again, being older, I didn't have that book around when I was DMing, so I just had to hope it didn't suck.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, sorry, this chair, guys. We're gonna get new chairs. By the way, we talked about this. We got soundproof. We got all kinds of stuff coming.
It'll be here soon.
For upgrades, we got upgraded camera coming. We actually were just gifted another microphone by a player, Julian.
Yep.
At the shop.
If you see this, Julian, it was great playing against you in the pod yesterday.
Julian, thank you, man. You're awesome. But we got new chairs. We got new everything coming. And again, like it's not like we don't monetize the channel. Like it has nothing to do with like anything like that. It's me. Again, it's just part of my business and what I want to do.
Yep.
And part of my hobby in my life. Like we've talked about it, man. Like I have so much fun talking. Just We're gonna have these. Me and him have these conversations anyway. We just love that we get to record it. You guys get to see it.
Yeah, me too.
But sorry, I get off my tangents sometimes. But anyway, so my question to you now, Spencer, something I want to bring up is your experience as a DM. Okay, so as a DM, for you, my first question to you is, what is the most intriguing or compelling, like draws you to wanting to be a DM versus wanting to be a player in the game? Like, what is the thing that like is like, what? Either I don't mind being a DM, like that's fine, or like I want to be a DM for this reason.
Okay, so that is a awesome question, and I don't get asked it often. I'm going to give you many answers.
That's fine. No. I mean, I don't assume that it's a one part answer. Like,
good. Good.
Like that's
you're in for the long haul here.
It's okay. Spencer's going to talk a lot more this time. That's good. It'll balance us out.
I played. I'm going to start with a little bit of history in playing this game for me. I played for about a year and a half in a game my buddy Marcus ran. If you see this, Marcus, hello. Thank you for that. That was a lot of fun. And I was immediately infatuated with this game.
Mm-hmm.
It was so compelling to me. And the reason is because all my life up to that point, I've enjoyed the aspects of storytelling, but I've failed to consistently be able to put them on paper. So I used outlets like role-playing video games, things like Skyrim,
Which we talked about in the last episode.
various role-playing games like Skyrim, Elex. There's so many I couldn't count. I mean, Cyberpunk more recently.
Yeah.
And so those have been my favorite genre of video game for as long as I've been playing them. And that was my outlet previously, because whenever I tried to sit down and write for paper, because of my sort of mental issues that I'm still getting over, suspected ADHD chiefly among them, I'm a big procrastinator, even with things that I want to do. And so, homework was always a problem for me for that, but even doing things I wanted to do, like writing, I would sit down and write 3 chapters of a new story, and I would never come back to it.
Yeah.
And I did that so many times over the years, and it was a little exhausting. So I liked the outlet that I had there, but it didn't get into something.
Well, especially with something like D&D, because like you speak to, like you start to write a full story, you don't have to write the full story at one time.
And not only that, but also like with whatever I'm dealing with my procrastination issues, it's easier to force myself out of that if there are people relying on
Who
me.
depend on you. Yep.
Like, if I were to do this show by myself and not have you, I probably wouldn't have made an episode 2.
Yeah.
But you're relying on me, and now I also have a big audience, which is awesome to rely on me too, to put out more content. Otherwise, I would procrastinate the shit out of this, but it's a lot of fun, even if I was doing it on my own.
And I agree with you on that aspect. I'm the same way. When it comes to that, it's like because I started streaming. For those who don't know, who have maybe seen the channel, it's in our description. I had it. I still have my Twitch channel, and I streamed Among Us for a while. With my friends, a couple things that I streamed with like Magic. But I realized really quickly that solo stuff like that was not my thing. Because we talked about it in the video game episode, I don't play video games by myself.
Yeah.
Because it's not my thing. I enjoy the social interaction. So that's for me it's the same type of thing where it's like the social interaction of having this, the social interaction of like even when I was a DM, for example, I agree with you on that same point for myself. I wanted to do that for the same reason. But I feel you.
But so my first campaign I played, I went really hard at the details. Like, I didn't even know how to play the game yet. I wrote, like, a 2-page backstory for my character.
Oh, God.
Like, that's the person I was. Which, for better or for worse, like, I was really excited for the opportunity.
I mean, that could be a DM's dream or nightmare, because, like, as a former DM myself, it's like, you got people that only write, like, 2 sentences.
Yeah.
They're like, what's your backstory? I'm from here and my parents got killed, or whatever. Like, that's it. Like, that's all you get. So
and so, like, for better or for worse, like, that's how I went into the game. And, like, for various reasons, that campaign was a shit show. There were players having conflict with one another outside of the game, players having conflict within the game. I was very new to the game, and I didn't know, like, table etiquette, and I didn't know the rules yet, so I was playing slow. Like, there were a lot of things that ended up making that campaign fall apart, but it was still a lot of fun for me, and I always miss that campaign, and I miss all campaigns that end too early, But I took that motivation, and I decided that I wanted to try to run a game, because I liked the idea of storytelling it, and I wanted to take it a step further from just designing one character and designing a world.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to go in too deep, though, so I didn't do a homebrew campaign, but I wanted to do something I was still interested in and still knew very well.
You use like some of the pre modules and stuff?
No, I didn't. I wanted to do something that I didn't want to do a homebrew world.
Okay, gotcha.
So it was a homebrew campaign, but I didn't write the world. I actually made it in the world of Elder Scrolls because I was very familiar with the world of Elder Scrolls from my time playing Skyrim and time playing the Elder Scrolls franchise, and like I got really deep into the lore. Like I know a lot about Elder Scrolls, and so like I knew the world well enough to write a campaign for it.
Yeah.
So I decided to do that. That's what I did, and it was a lot of fun, and I made a ton of mistakes. Like I was trying to fill the void of different voids of things that happened in the world that weren't in D&D.
Uh-huh.
So like player character vampire lords, and like one of my characters, Marcus, the DM who got me into the game, he played a rogue assassin Argonian who worshipped Hircine, and he became a were-crocodile. And I made stats for it, but it was busted as fuck, because I've never done that before.
And for those who don't understand some of that, like, I know it sounds like Greek, you know, it's like the old saying, you know, you're speaking Greek to me. It's like...
basically a werewolf, but he was a crocodile.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
But it's not even that. It's just like to understand, like, they may not understand what Argonian is, you know, things like that, right?
Yeah.
It's like, so what he's describing is things, you know, that do have to do with, you know, the Elder Scrolls
world. The specific world, yeah.
Right, that specific world. And that's what's really awesome about these types of games, is you can have it as simple as you want it to be. You know, again, going back to like my 3.5 days, you know, we only had like 5 or 6 deities to choose from at that time. You know, maybe less. I don't remember, to be honest. You know, Tiamat was one of them, just so you know. But which also the really cool thing about D&D, so Tiamat, again, this is from my Smite lore and things like that. Tiamat is a Babylonian deity.
Yes.
Okay, so like something that's actually been a part of this world and like other religions and things like that, and then was brought into the D&D world and stuff like, you know, and so that's another cool thing to me, is how they take things that are real world stuff, you know, to, you know, and it doesn't matter what your religion or what you believe and stuff like that. I say it's real world because it's something that, you know, there are people in this world who have that belief, and so that's real world to me, right?
Yeah.
And so they take real world stuff and put it into this game.
Yep.
You know, they change it a little bit. You know, there's some little minor detail changes, you know, different things like that, right? But, you know, that to me is amazing. You know, that we get to have that experience. And so that's like a detail of mine that I love about it, is I love to find things in those RPGs that are real world things, so I can go look up the lore. That's one of the reasons why I love Smite as a video game that we talked about.
Yeah.
Because I get to go look up the lore, you know, and I get to look at, you know, that's my story things. Like, that's what I love to read, but I don't have time to read like an entire book anymore. I just don't. I don't have the time for it. But if I can go and read, you know, a web page that has like, you know, 2 pages worth of paragraphs on this kind of lore for something, it's awesome for me. You know, it's like most of us sit there on social media.
Good old wikis.
Wikipedia's, yeah, great, exactly. So yeah, man, I mean, I feel you on that. So I'm glad that was, you know, your motivation. I'm glad that you got into it that way. So I get my next question to you.
Well, I've got more.
Well, I want you to give me a little bit more. Give me a little bit more.
Okay.
But, you know, kind of get to your point, because I do have another question for you. So go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, that's sort of my history leading up to the DM process, and it was filling a void that I like to write, and it was filling that void and giving me the opportunity to tell stories. And the other is, I really like making difficulties for my friends to get past.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I like designing combat encounters for them to, like, that challenge them, or are fundamentally interesting in different ways.
You're the puzzle maker. You want to create the puzzle.
Yeah.
and see if someone can figure out the puzzle.
Yeah, or just scare the fuck out of them.
That too. That's
like,
always fun.
Like recently, in my Wildmount campaign, I had them fight against. They were going down a dark tunnel, and I on the fly had to build an encounter because I wasn't expecting them to go this way.
Oh wow!
Which is a good old pillar of being a DM.
Oh yeah.
I had them fight a group of dark mantles
Okay.
that lived alongside ropers.
Okay.
So for those who don't know, and the only modification I made was that I also gave the ropers blind sight.
Okay.
So dark mantles are both of them look, when standing still, exactly like either stalactites or stalagmites. They are imperceivable from rocks on the ceiling and the floor. Dark mantles, though, they fly and they like attach to people's heads, and they eat them from the head down. Not to mention, they have what's called blind sight, so they can see around them in perfect darkness, and they can summon darkness in a 15-foot circle around them, so 15 feet in every direction. I had a group of those living alongside ropers. Now, ropers are... Dark mantles are scary, but they're not hard to kill. They're pretty low-level monsters.
They're like glass cannons in the sense.
They are a little bit glass cannons. They have low AC, not very high HP. They don't do a lot of damage, but like it's also hard to hit them sometimes.
Right.
Since they're attached to your friends and in pitch dark.
So for those who don't know what a glass cannon refers to, is like glass cannons are things that
deal a lot of damage.
That had the potential to deal a lot of damage, but they can also be blown up very easily. But yeah. Go ahead.
And then the roper, what a roper is, also looking just like a stalactite or stalagmite, they have up to 6 tentacles at a time that can grapple someone from 50 feet away and pull them 25 feet closer every turn. And then they can do like a 4d10 bite attack against one person that's near them.
I didn't realize all
that.
that.
The grapple also restrains them, so they have disadvantage on attacking, and attacking them has advantage.
Oh, wow.
Now, normally ropers don't have blind sight, but because these ones lived alongside dark mantles to hunt for prey together, I gave them all blind sight.
They learned how to do it.
So the dark mantles start descending from the ceiling and start covering the room in darkness, and then people are getting grabbed from different corners of the cavern and being pulled towards the ropers and chomped on.
Oh, wow.
It was terrifying for my players, and I almost killed somebody. I almost got him. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time every turn. It was the bard, and he kept getting hit.
You know what? If it's the bard, he deserves it. It's okay.
But it was a lot of fun building, and that all came up on the fly because I just wasn't expecting them to go that direction. But that's a big part of being a DM. For
the
me
ropers
too.
also remind me the first thing when you said, and this is another just nerdy thing off subject, is if you're a Whovian at all.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the Weeping Angels.
Yeah, I haven't watched anything Doctor Who in a long time. I stopped watching when, or I caught up to when Peter Capaldi became Doctor, and I just didn't keep up.
You haven't watched Jodie at all, but I got you.
No, I haven't watched anything since then.
It just reminds me of the Weeping Angels.
I love the Weeping Angels. They're terrifying. I love them.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, that's awesome, man. And so it speaks to, as you guys can see, I mean, you guys have seen Spencer, and he's been excited about other things we've talked about.
Very.
But you can see just how excited he is about, tabletop RPGs.
It is easily my biggest passion.
Yeah.
Before you ask me the
Besides
next question.
The podcast, right?
Yes.
I'm kidding.
No, it is easily my biggest passion. Just to speak on that before you ask me your next question, I play currently in 6 different campaigns.
Wow.
One of those 6 I DM. Alternating Sundays, I have my game, which is 5e Wildmount. A lot of fun. On the other Sunday, so every other Sunday I do mine, and then on the in-between Sundays, my buddy Brad runs a sort of like steampunk pirate game in 5e, where there's like airships, and I'm playing like a Vidalcan gunslinger.
I haven't gotten invited to this. What is it?
You want to come over tomorrow and play? You're gonna be
out of town, but yeah, we can look at it for in the future.
perhaps.
Yeah.
But that game's a ton of fun too, Brad. It's going awesome, and he's got apparently new ideas, which I'm very excited and terrified about.
Brad, I give you major props for the steampunk pirate thing.
Yeah, it's like so like the seas got like dangerous with like monsters,
Yeah.
so they developed airships. So like the seas are like toxic.
You got like Jorah captain in one of those.
I don't know, maybe we have a lot of like callbacks to like things outside.
Jorah is a character from Magic, and
there's also
she's a captain of the Weatherlight, which is a ship that's flies through the air. So
there's a sea shanty about a ship called the Diamond. It's the Bonnie ship, the Diamond by the Long Johns. And he put that ship into the game.
Oh my god!
And we got to meet the crew and everything. That was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
But yeah, because I couldn't find a better name, I named a volcano Mount Carador. Because I was helping him world build, and I made the map for the world. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And then alternating Wednesdays, Brad also runs a game that I found a few years ago called Shattered. It is a grimdark RPG built by what's the name? It's Never Dark Enough. INDE.
So before you go into that detail, what other D&D, like, because my next question to you, just so you know, so let's just transition into this, is what other RPGs do you play other than D&D? That was my next question.
Fair enough.
You, so.
Well, here's one. Shattered is a grimdark RPG built by It's Never Dark Enough. It has its problems. I love you guys at INDE. I actually I've talked at length with a few of the guys on their team, primarily Tex. He's a cool guy. And I don't know if I'm credited. I'm probably not, but I helped them find some of the bugs in their or some of the typos and stuff in their book.
Look at this
and I also broke one of their mechanics, and they had to fix it because of what I did.
I mean, that's what you need to do sometimes.
It's a really cool system. So you have a bunch of XP and you spend that on literally everything. You don't roll dice for stats or anything. You have all this XP and you spend it on skills, talents, attributes, everything. And
okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, and different things are at different XP values.
I mean, that's more like a traditional RPG when it comes to video games and stuff.
Yeah,
too.
it is very akin to that. And but yeah, they have so it's it's post-apocalyptic but with a little bit of magic and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to get into the lore. The lore is I'm super into the lore. I think it's really cool. But they have magic and they have guns and all this. They have airships too. But I built this character that I actually ran Shattered once. It was a sort of DMPC because when I was first looking at the game, I wanted to build a character.
Can you explain to them what DMPC is? Okay.
Dungeon Master player character. So it's a character that I'd like to play if given the opportunity. And now that I'm playing, I am playing him.
I just want acronyms, we know them.
Acronyms.
I just always want to make sure that you guys know. So
true,
go ahead.
True. Not everyone's as familiar. So.
Yeah.
But so this character is an arcanist and a martial artist and is a fire marshal. Now marshals are kind of like this game's clerics. They worship an aspect of existence. There's war and peace, light and dark, fire and water, stuff like that.
Yeah,
so I saw an ability in the fire marshal that gave unarmed attacks fire damage equal to half your charisma, effectively.
Is this where you broke the game or no?
This is where I broke the game.
Okay. I wanted to hear about this. So okay.
I did break the game with this. It is fixed now. It's still fun though. So extra damage on unarmed attacks.
Okay.
And there's a whole hand-to-hand tree. And there's the martial arts talent, which allows you to do cooler stuff with it. Mm-hmm. Then there's Arcana, which you sort of spellcraft each spell as you go.
Yeah.
And so you can add damage, or you can add fire, or you can add all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And so I can do that. Then the martial arts. There is a specific martial arts tree that you can go down that allows you to apply a spell from Arcana to a hand-to-hand attack.
I was trying to figure out how they. I was like, oh wait, it's an arcanist and a martial artist. Like I'm like.
Now, further, there is a ability called multi-attack, where you get to attack a number of times.
Yeah.
And there's a talent called ambidextrous, which reduces your penalty for multi-attack.
And for those who play like other RPGs, like it sounds very similar to like a monk, you know. With
it is very much akin to a monk.
Like when you're talking about D&D and stuff, like so monks use a lot of unarmed combat and stuff like that. So you know, for those people who are out there, just in case you're listening, like that sounds like my monk, like that, yeah. So it's like a monk here. It's a magical monk.
Magical monk, yeah. So now here's the thing: it took what they called a free action to apply the spell to a fist, to a basic unarmed attack.
So those who don't know what free, so in your basic RPGs, you have your actions actually calls you to use an ability like to do something like when you attack. That's that is an action. That is whatever. A free action is something like arming your weapon. Like I'm going to draw my sword. Something like that, right?
Something basic.
Something basic that doesn't trigger. In most cases, trigger like an attack of opportunity, like we haven't talked about yet. So, like, attack of opportunities happen when you move past certain things. There's a lot of ways that they happen, but a free action, in most cases, will not trigger any kind of negative towards you.
Yeah.
So
going into the way the system works is every turn you have 5 action points, and you can spend them on different things, right? But, like, a basic attack is 2 action points.
Okay.
Whereas like, reloading is 1, that kind of thing.
Gotcha, okay.
And the multi-attack is 3.
Fair.
But unless you have the ambidextrous talent, you take a -4 to your second attack.
Yeah. So, for you guys that don't know, I've never played this particular RPG, but so I'm listening to this and I'm like, 5 action points, what?
Yeah, but, some things cost more than just 1 action. Moving is an action point.
Yeah.
So the point of this character was multi-attack and then also basic attack. So 3 attacks in 1 turn. Now, at the time, free action was not on the list of actions. They meant to put it in, they did not.
Wait, so you got to use your free action without using an action point?
Well, free action is still 0 action points.
Okay.
But the difference was that they intended to put it in and say, if something would give you a free action, you can only activate that once per turn. They did not say that.
So you could use your free action more than once per turn? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yes, and so my free action, I could apply a spell on a hand-to-hand attack, but because I hadn't written that in the book, I could put it on all of my basic hand-to-hand attacks.
God bless Spencer.
So I go in, and they also had to change another thing because one of the Arcana spell like components that you can add is just extra damage.
Yeah.
So it's like I can either damage or I can apply burn, or for a harder difficulty I can do both.
So basically, for those who don't understand, maybe you watch anime, and we're gonna have an anime episode. There's an anime out there called One Punch Man.
Well, I did many punches, but they worked.
But yeah, it's like a mixture between One Punch Man and like Goku from Dragon Ball Z, right? Like that's what this sounds like to me right now.
Yeah.
It's like, the point is that he just needed 1 turn to kill something, which does not happen in most cases with a character. You usually need multiple people in the combat to hit this one thing to kill it. Spencer's like, I got this.
I just saw all these things and I put it together and I accidentally broke it because what I ended up doing is I was able to make 3 attacks.
Yeah.
Each normally just dealing a d6 plus your strength. Because of a biomod I got, it was a d6 plus 2.
Yeah.
Then it was a d6 plus 4 because I got an extra 2 fire damage from being a fire marshal.
Okay.
And then it was an extra 3d6 per because of the spells I was adding to it. So I was assuming I made the correct, assuming I successfully rolled the attack and successfully cast the spell.
Yeah.
I was dealing 4d6 plus 4 damage on 3 attacks
in 1 turn.
So for those who don't
understand, you see this bowl of dice? This is what Spencer was doing. Like that's you can't see the thing down here.
2,
But the point
3,
is like
4, 5, 6,
I keep my ball of dice
7,
on one of the tables
8,
over there.
9, 10, 11, 12. All right, so I was rolling this many dice for damage in one turn, assuming I hit each of my attacks and cast all my spells.
So let's give her perspective real quick. Let's give her perspective.
Like, look at that.
That is gross. He 12 dice. He rolled almost 72 because he's just But let's give her perspective. Let's give it perspective, right? For those who don't understand, or who maybe have never played RPGs and stuff like that, right? Let's say your normal, non-busted character, right?
52.
There you go, 52. Yeah, like your normal non-busted character, like you're talking about. What how many dice are they rolling? What's your average kind of damage, right? Like
it kind of depends. With the balance fixes and the changes that they wrote to the book after I did that and told them about it and told them how I shouldn't be able to do this.
Yeah.
I probably I can't do my spell on each turn, and I also can't add damage to the spell. I can only do like different effects. So now I can deal 1d6 plus 2 on 3 different attacks. And I can apply 1d6 plus 3 on 3 different attacks, and then apply the burned condition usually. Or I can like make them not able to move, or like do a couple of other things. And it
essentially cuts your damage into like a third.
Yeah, like I mean, 54 damage would one shot my character.
Yeah.
And it would one shot just about anything in and this is
especially at the level.
Yeah, I mean I was able to do that at only 600 XP, which is only 200 more than what you start with. So this is like three sessions into the game, you were able to do that before they had to rewrite the rules.
This is my new face I'm giving Spencer. Okay, so again, for those who don't understand it, so we've gone into like really big details and stuff like that.
True.
And I'm glad for that. No, I'm glad for that. But again, one of the things that we like to do for each episode, is we want to talk about, from a broadness standpoint, and give people explanations and stuff. So he's played, that. I'm going to talk for a little bit now. I've let you geek out, nerd out for a little bit. So
you go.
I'm gonna talk for a second. So like for myself, I've played, being older, I've played some other ones. So I played Pathfinder, which was very similar to 3.5 D&D.
Yeah. Some people call it 3.52.
Right. I've played like Star Wars campaigns. So we'll get into Star Wars again. In a couple episodes. One of the cool things you're gonna see at the end of the episodes now is we're gonna kind of tell you guys about the next episode. But I loved the Star Wars campaign that I did because, and Nick and Mello are gonna get on to me for this because in some people's beliefs in canon, gray Jedis don't actually exist. But
I love the idea of gray Jedi.
But in the campaign that I played, now again, this is like 10 plus years ago probably. In the campaign that I played, I was a gray Jedi. So it allowed me to still be good, but also use Jedi Lightning. I used it as a stun ability, not a lethal ability, though.
Interesting.
So that's what made it, on the gray line. Like, it was an ability. It still did some damage and could technically do lethal damage, but it was a very low. Like, I rolled like I think it was like 2d4 or something like that. And no plus modifier. It was just like 2d4 damage, but it did stun damage, that kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the thing, and the reason why I'm bringing all this up is like like you're talking. There's so many. There's Call of Cthulhu, which me and him don't know much about. Like we know that it exists, and if you're a Lovecraft fan, like for example Josiah, who works for me at the store, huge Lovecraft fan.
Okay.
He's told me so much about the Lovecraft lore.
You should get him to run a Call of Cthulhu
we probably should.
That would be fun.
But like, because he was telling me about like there's a deity in Lovecraft lore, for example, who I'm gonna fuck all this up. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna butcher the shit out of this. But there's a deity that it's only been like seen a couple of times, and the depiction of it is like a black hole, basically. Okay, but it is kept asleep by like most of the other deities in the Lovecraftian world, because its dreams create reality. And if it were to ever wake up, reality as it exists now would disappear.
Oh.
Like that kind of shit. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, we don't fuck with that guy. Like, leave him alone, you know.
Leave that alone.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like,
let him sleep.
Yeah.
Don't push the alarm.
And again, I don't know if it goes to that kind of depth in Call of Cthulhu, if they have that kind of thing, but like, you know, so, you know, the thing about RPGs in general, and what I want to get to for you guys, again, who've never been into them, what's really cool about it is you can almost always, I'm not even going to say almost, you can always find a campaign somewhere with somebody. Doesn't matter if you're brand new, you've never played an RPG, you just want to try to get into it. I'm telling you, like, the majority of people who have been, I've met a couple, I'm just saying, I've met a couple of DMs you didn't want to deal with, but you know it right away, right?
Yeah, it's usually evident.
Yeah, but like someone like Spencer would welcome, you know, any new player that wants to come in, you know. But then you also have your new players too that like you need to go play with that DM nobody likes. Like,
well, you know, so you know Brock, who you met yesterday.
Yeah.
He's an old friend from high school. He went to military academy with me. This is his first time playing D&D, and I actually invited him to my Wildbound game.
Nice.
And he was the bard who almost died. And
hey, congratulations, Brock! You got an invite before I did.
To be fair, we weren't hanging out a lot at the time. You know, I mean, we're good friends, but you know, more distant at the time.
I'm giving you poop.
I know.
Go ahead.
But yeah, no, it's having I really like teaching new players. I actually ran a campaign that we called the Noobs campaign once. Me and Marcus, we co-DM'd. We like decided to both sit at the table since we wanted to have a bunch of our friends from high school play, and none of them had played before. Not one of them. So we were like, okay, one of us DMing isn't going to work because we're going to need to help everyone with everything. So we both sat down and theory crafted a world for them to play in.
That's dope.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
And so we bounced plot lines off each other. He role played some characters. They role played some characters. I role played others, and that was a lot of fun. But you know, we got to teach five people, brand new to the game. And that was a lot of fun.
And I feel really bad for this because we're an hour into this podcast, and again, because we talk about a lot of these things to our degree of understanding. You know, if you're still in the podcast and you're listening and maybe you're new to RPGs, I feel bad because we really should have brought this up in the beginning. So for most RPGs, the way it works is like you have a DM who sets up a world, you know, for you. Mm-hmm. You're going to come in, you're going to create a character. We really should have went over this early in the episode. I realize this now.
I mean, we're not doing a tutorial. We're just talking about an experience.
No, but also we need to explain it to people to see if they're going to be interested and want to do it, right? So you come in, you have a character sheet for most games. You're going to create your character, and like you talked about, you know, your oh, God bless it. What's the race and class again? The arcanist, martial artist. You know, fire marshal, right?
Oh yeah,
right. So like, depending upon the RPG, like you're gonna have different, you know, monikers or you know modifications to like your type of who your person is, right?
Yeah.
And then those types of characters usually have bonuses based on the different ability sets. And I know when you're talking about you use experience to do all your stuff, right? But like in D&D, for example, you have your wisdom, your strength, your charisma. I'm not going to go through the entire list, but like you have these different stats, right? And so like for your more hand-to-hand, like your barbarians or things like that, you want more strength, right? Because you want them dealing damage, right? But for your magical characters, like your wizards and things like that, you want more wisdom to be able to use their abilities. And so you have to, that's the cool thing about it, is learning the balance between where do I want to put my stats, stuff like that. And so like he talked about, because you brought it up earlier and we didn't refer to it so that people know, talking about rolling a character. So when we talk about rolling a character, that's what we're talking about. So you actually, for us, for most people, now some DMs just do auto stats. I don't know. I've never been a big fan of that, but some people do. Like, you ever dealt with a DM like that? I don't know if you have, but
I've experienced a few different ways to generate stats. Usually it's rolling, but I've seen some unique other ways.
Well, like I have dealt with DMs that were like based off the base class, So like if it's a wizard, barbarian, whatever, like didn't matter whether you were an elf or a human or whatever, right? Based off the base class, that was your stats.
Interesting.
And so, and he wouldn't tell you what they were, so you could, when you picked your race for your modifier, you didn't know where it was, like it was going because but you don't know what you actually needed it in, so it kind of sucked. Again, because there's power DMs out there, just like there's power gamers and stuff, right?
True.
So this is just a particular experience of mine, and again, this was like 10 years ago, right? Where it was like, so like for example, usually like in D&D, humans get a base modifier in basically any category because they're humans, whatever. Whereas like elves will have it in like
dexterity and wisdom.
Yeah, dexterity and
or
wisdom.
Dexterity and intelligence.
Exactly, something like that, right? And so what we're talking about when we're rolling characters, the reason why those stats matter because they help you with your modifiers when they come to attacks and your AC and DC and things like that. AC is like
how hard you are to hit.
Yeah, how hard you are to hit, and your DC is no, DC is how hard you are to hit.
No, AC is armor class.
Armor class, yeah. And then DC.
Spell save DC, so it's how high an opponent would have to roll to overcome a spell that.
Yes,
you cast.
thank you. I'm sorry, I'm blanking right now. I apologize. It's a little bit later, but anyway,
sorry about that, guys.
Sorry, our friend Max was messaging us. Which, speaking of Max, and we'll talk about this in a little bit. Our next episode will be with Max on music. But anyway, we'll talk about that more later.
He'll be here.
He'll actually be here in studio with us. You'll get to see Max and his beautifulness.
Yep.
But anyway, so I wanted to explain a little bit of those kind of details to people.
Yeah.
Obviously, we probably should have talked about that a little bit earlier in the show, but and for those who are still here with us that maybe are more experienced, you're like, oh, I know all this stuff, but we're trying to reach out to everybody.
And actually on that note, I was just thinking about this a little bit ago, and I think I'd like to commit. I'm making an announcement on behalf of Slypatch Gaming. I am going to, for anyone at the store who'd like to play, I'm going to attempt running modules.
Uh-huh.
So
what day would you like to do that, Spencer?
I have no idea. It would depend on interest. So anyone out there who wants a D&D game to play, even you,
we've been wanting this for a long time. So
it would be in 5e.
So the one thing is obviously not Friday night, so we'll go ahead and tell you guys.
It's not going to be... Well, I want to play on Friday. I want to play Magic on Friday.
Right,
so
but my point of what I'm saying is, like, so Friday nights is our busiest nights. Other than that, guys, you guys pick a night. You guys find a night, we'll make it happen.
Thursday night would be good for me.
Thursday's not too shabby.
But we'll see. It depends on people's interest and what days work for people, and it could change.
And I'll tell you what. I'll even commit to this. Okay, if you're one of the first timers, never played, and you guys know who you are, don't try to take advantage of this. But I got some cool little, was inexpensive to me, dice sets. So again, when we talk about dice sets, again, I got my dice right here, right? Most people are familiar with a D6. That's the 6-sided dice that you've seen before. But most dice sets will have a random D20. It'll have a D10, a D8, and what the D stands for is like the sides of the dice, right?
Yep.
It'll have a D4, that kind of thing.
So D4 is 4-sided die. D6 is
correct.
6-sided die.
Yeah. So like this is your 4-sided die. Most of them.
Little pyramid boy.
Yeah.
Also known as caltrops. Do not put them on the floor and step on them.
Yeah.
They will kill you.
They hurt. But anyway, so I have some D&D dice sets, and if you come to me at Slypatch and you say, "Hey, I'm interested in playing in your D&D campaign. I'm new to D&D and I've never played before, I will gift you a dice set.
Awesome. I was gonna have a community dice pool, but that also works.
No, I'm gonna gift them a dice set. You get to pick
That's
your
cool.
color and all that stuff.
All right. Well, I do hope that some people have some excitement for it. I have no idea what module I'm going to run or any of that, but we will get there when the time comes.
I'll help you with that for sure. You know,
I
'cause,
actually,
like if you do it on Thursdays, for example, I can't play
yeah,
because I do the binary thing,
Yeah.
for us. But I will do, everything I can to help Spencer, create the world for you guys. Make
Yep.
it a little spicy.
it would. I do have every D&D book, so
Nice.
every single one.
Yeah, that's actually an offshoot of a topic I was going to talk about earlier, and me and you've had this conversation. But I love this story. So, what got me into game stores or becoming a game store owner was we all have been playing D&D. I've been DMing. One of my other buddies wanted to become a DM, or he wanted to DM the next campaign. Okay, I was like, cool. I assumed he was just going to use my books. He messaged me one day. He's like, "Hey, I bought a whole new set." I was like, "Oh, okay." And this is when Craigslist was not like the dirty, nasty thing that most people think of. Okay, this was again almost 12 or 15 years ago. Okay, I went on Craigslist, and again I was looking for magic cards anyway, and there was a guy who said he was looking to get out of Magic and wanted to get into D&D and was willing to trade Magic cards for the D&D books. I was like, dude, perfect scenario for me, right? So he actually worked at the local flea market. So, I know you guys don't have a lot of flea markets around here, but this was an indoor flea market too, not like the outside stuff you guys see around here. And he worked at this roasted nut stand. It was like there was peanuts and almonds and pecans, and
Okay.
they would roast them and then they put like cinnamon and all that stuff on
Yeah,
it. You've seen
yeah,
those, right?
Yeah.
So he
My grandpa actually makes candied walnuts.
yeah. So it was awesome, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, he messages me and he was like, "Hey, I work on Saturday. All day Saturday. Can you come out? If you can come out to the flea market, like it would help me out a lot, right?" I was like, "Cool, man. So I'll come meet you." So I literally, and again, this was back to 3.5. So I think the entire collection was 6 books, and we had a store back home in Chattanooga called McKay's Used Books. So I got the majority of those books. I think I only had to buy one at full price from one of the game stores. I bought all the other 5 at McKay's for like half price. So instead of like $60 or $70 for a book, I was paying like $30.
Yeah.
So for 6 books, like I had less than $200 invested, right? I go up there, taking the books. Dude, he's like a kid on Christmas.
That's awesome.
Because he thought he would just get like a book or two. And I was like, dude, I got the whole set. Right? He's like, awesome. He literally has, and I wish I have a tub in there. I don't want to go get it. But so for those, most people know what Tupperware is. Those big old tubs that look like Tupperware, they're like literally like, hold on, in the camera, like this wide and they're like this deep. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
He has an entire tub like that filled with magic stuff.
Wow.
Okay? And I'm like, all right, well, cool. Do you care if I look through your stuff real quick and we'll figure out, a good deal? He goes, no. Just take the tub. I was like, what? He's like, no. Like, I told you, like, I'm done with Magic. I want to play D&D, and you have every book that I needed. He was like, I was going to separate it if, like, other people came, whatever, but you have every book I need. You can have all of it. Spencer, when I tell you, the best Magic deal I've ever had in my life, right? And I've been a store owner for, okay? I traded less than $200 worth of books for about $12,000 worth of Magic cards.
What did he have in there?
All kinds of stuff, dude. He had like 15 copies of Urborg. You remember the old Abacus life counters? Like the original Abacus life counters?
No, I don't.
You know what an Abacus counter is, right?
I know what an abacus is.
Okay. So the old Duels of the Planeswalker Abacus life counters, right? He had 2 of those in there. One was blue, one was black, and those were like the most sought after ones. The blue one was $120 by itself, and the black one was like $80. Okay? He had the sealed Sliver's deck, the premium series that they did, he had the sealed Fire and Lightning. He had the sealed Jace versus Chandra Planeswalkers deck. He had he had a couple other sealed boxes in there, and then he just had a ton of cards.
Wow.
Oh! I forgot about that. He had each of the Urza Saga lands. So Tolarian Academy, Sarah Sanctum, Gaia's Cradle.
Wow.
We're all in there too. He gave me everything for those books.
That's wild.
And that's literally what got me into doing the Game Store thing.
That's
Because
really
it
cool.
turned my collection from I probably owned about, I don't know, $1,500 worth of cards at the time.
Yeah.
To $12,000 worth of cards. And I turned that $12,000 worth of cards into, and just kept going,
Yeah.
So it was really cool. It was really cool story. I love it when we talk about D&D. I like talking about that. But anyway, we're getting pretty deep into it. Again, I said this in the last episode. This means we're getting better the longer we go. But not really. But anyway, any final in the meat and potatoes here in the campaign that you want to talk about as far as RPGs go?
I'd like to say this to anyone out there who's still watching who hasn't played before. This is also going to be a little bit of maybe retrospect or just a little bit of agreeance from my veteran players too out there. This game, it seems very trivial. And it certainly can be if that's what you're looking for, right? It can just be a game. But I would be a very different person without it.
Mm-hmm.
I have worked through so many so much social anxiety. I know people who had anger issues who worked through that through D&D, and it's such a good outlet, and it's a good outlet from so many different kinds of things, and it just absorbs you and it makes you feel at home. I can't say enough good things about it that even makes sense. There's nothing I could possibly... I could never put into words the amount of love I have for this kind of game.
Mm-hmm.
I love it so deeply, and I know it's not everyone's thing. But if you're thinking you might even just like to try it, please find people to play with because it is so rewarding. It is lots of fun. It helps you deal with stuff if you need to deal with stuff. It helps you learn how to be a good friend, a good partner, a good teammate. It helps you problem solve. It helps you think outside the box. There's so many good aspects of this game, and if you also just want it as a fun game, it's good for that too.
I mean, there's a lot of character building within your own self. You're building a character, but within that play style, within the game, you can build your own character,
Mm-hmm.
And so, to speak on that too, and I want to bring up, so, because, Spencer used the word, talking about trivial, and what he means by that is it's still just a game, and the overall aspect of life is just a game, But the other, I want to speak to the other aspect of it is to a lot of people, a game like this might seem very daunting to them. It might seem very hard to get into, or, again, oh, I don't understand all the aspects, this, whatever.
Or you don't get the rules.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, and again, I'm a big Magic player. We both are, dude. It's 10 times, if not more, easier than a game like Magic or
Because it's cooperative.
Exactly. Because
everyone you sit at the table with is there to have fun together and work together towards a goal. Even the DM sometimes perceived as an enemy of the players, but they're just trying to build a story for the players, and ultimately everyone at the table is trying to help each other towards the goal, whatever that goal is.
Yeah. You just don't know what the goal is at the beginning, which is awesome. That's the cool thing about it is, you go into it and, you get to figure out what that is. And, and the cool thing about it is that 99%, I will say 99% just because of my personal experience, 99% of people you meet in the community are going to be so helpful to you.
Yeah.
There are people, it doesn't matter what community you're in. Yes, there are people out there who are assholes. There are people who, are just there for themselves, or there to try to make everyone else's time. Like, I was in a campaign one time, like, literally the guy, he was like, chaotic evil, and everything that he did was just to try to disrupt the group, and shit like that, right?
There are bad actors, but I've found there's significant.
But it was really cool. It was really cool because the DM of that game recognized it, like, in the first session, and fucking killed him off in the second session. And he was like, if you're going to create another character, you have to be either helpful or get the fuck out of my game. Like, it was awesome. Like, he was just like, he recognized it. Because he was like a tiefling warlock that was chaotic evil, and just wanted to be a dick. And so every spell that he would cast, would also have a negative effect on his teammates, not just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the kind of guy he was. And the DM was like, no, I'm not having this in my game,
Yeah.
And it was really cool, and that's the great thing about it. Like, that's why I said 99% of people, because your DM's either going to support you, or the people who are in that group are going to support you, and it's a great way, like Spencer said, getting over like social anxiety, things like that. If you are a socially anxious person, and or you're someone who's like really shy, afraid to meet people, the community itself is so accepting. It's so wanting for more people too. I mean, there are times where we try to run campaigns and we can't get enough people for them, just because we're a lot of us are adults and we have lives and things like that, and so we want that new person that's never played to come in the door and say, "Hey, do you guys have a D&D campaign going on?" Fuck yeah, we do.
Send them my way.
Exactly, and so I just want to speak on that for a moment. I want to speak one more little point on my personal experience with RPGs, tabletop RPGs in general. Like Spencer said, man, it's been like a big help for him, to change his stuff. It was a great transition point in my life. I have literally not played in a campaign in probably like 7 years. Like, I can say,
wow.
I can say at least 7 years. I haven't been in a campaign in at least 7 years. But again, I spoke to like the 10 years ago plus where I did have that window, and that was a great transition point for me to become who I am today, and to get better and more confident in myself and just different things like that. We've talked about in the other podcast about how I want to get into voice acting, right? One of the things that was a positive for me and wanted me to get into voice acting, because when I would role play, I had a voice for my character. Like, I did not speak like this right here, like the guy, the way that you guys hear me and talk. No, depending upon who my character was, what it was, I created a voice for each character I ever played.
Can you do one? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
I know you put me on the spot.
Feel free to say no and next time.
No, so I'd be like, yeah, Spencer, we're going to go kill the goblins, things like that, if it was, I had a character that was like Baba Yaga, okay, but it was a male version of Baba Yaga, and so for those who know, that's a witch deity, whatever, and so he was a warlock, but he was like a hybrid, like warlock druid type thing, he lived in the woods, that was his voice. It was like, yeah, Spencer, are you ready to go on an adventure? Things like that, because that's how I saw Baba Yaga, that type of character, Yeah. And he's like, he's like old, like he's probably like 175 years old, that kind of thing, right? So like I would come up with those characters, or like if I played a barbarian, I'd be like, we go smash, it's like, Spencer, why you no smash, it was very simplified, like talking and things like that, right? It's like that's the type of things I did with my character. I loved it, I absolutely loved doing that, and so that's why I want to get into the voice acting things, because I can create it, be a part of that character. Like, that is the identity of some characters, with that. So,
I love that.
Yeah. So I loved playing RPGs. I would love to get back into a campaign. I'd love for you to DM a campaign and for me to get into it because I love Spencer. Obviously, you guys know we love spending time with each other when we can. You know, so I'd love to get into it. But
yeah, I'd love to have you. Maybe you can be in my module if it works on a different day.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other days
we'll figure
work
it out.
But
we'll figure it out.
We'll figure out something.
Yeah, nothing else. Like we'll start doing modules and just put them online. We'll just start recording. Oh, there you go, guys. Because that's actually part of the description of Slypatch Gaming. We might do a module and start recording it for you guys and have.
I don't know if I'm ready for that.
Oh, he's ready. He's ready.
I'd like to get one under my belt first. How about that?
You already do modules. Like you already are a DM.
I've never done a module. I've never ran a module, and I also have never ran a game for entirely for like people who I've never met.
coming late
briefly.
2022, like September-ish.
Maybe.
Yeah. Anyway,
we'll keep you posted on if that's a possibility. I'm sure it'll be my positive thing that I'll announce at some point, but
it will be because what'll happen is I'll record him secretly when he doesn't know. Because that's the way you do it. You don't announce that you're recording. You just get recorded, and then I go, "Hey Spencer, look at the footage," and you're like, "Oh my god!" You're gonna freak out. But then we're gonna talk about it. You're like, "Okay, guys, well, this is coming up." But no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Anyway, so that's our meat and potatoes, guys.
Coming out of the campaign, going into this week's mains. I'm going to be a little selfish and go first because I would like to...
Not selfish at all.
Okay. I'd like to give a little bit of an update on last week's mains and the Baldur's Gate 3 update, which was announced but not detailed at the time. And then it released earlier this week.
We talked about this beforehand, and he has me excited. Go ahead.
We got Barbarians! So, for those who haven't played Baldur's Gate 3 yet, they started the open beta, the early access stuff, with only 6 classes in the game. And they've been slowly adding the other 6 classes that are in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. A couple updates ago, we got Druids. Last update, we got Sorcerers. And now we have Barbarians. And I'm playing a adorable, really, ginger dwarf barbarian. And she is an absolute monster truck, and I've been loving it.
So you're... Oh, that's even better. So it's a female dwarf.
Yeah, she is about this tall, big, stocky, real pale ginger,
so at least
freckles and everything.
This is just
awesome.
This is just my understanding of basic lore. Again, from being older. For those who don't know, in most lores, even though you see mostly male, dwarfs out there, the females are the ones you gotta watch out for. Like, the females are more vicious than the males are. Like, the males...
They don't fuck around.
They'll still whoop your ass, right? The females won't even give you a chance to talk. They'll be like, fuck you. Smack. The females in dwarf lore, from what I understand, they're the badasses. So, that's really cool to me.
But yeah, I wanted to give you guys an update on Baldur's Gate 3 in case you were interested, because it's really cool. They also... did a ton of quality of life changes. The UI is all different and so much more optimized, less crashes.
Sometimes that has to happen with the UI because sometimes they don't even understand. When they're creating the game, it can get in the way. There's all kinds of So,
but yeah, it's a lot more streamlined now. It's more optimized.
For those who don't know,
so much better.
UI stands for user interface.
Yeah, it's all the little panels and your health bar, stuff like that will come up on a game.
Yeah.
So that's been cool. The other main that I have is I wanted to... I don't want to talk in detail about all the decks I've been building, but I've been building a lot of cool new decks for Magic the Gathering.
Let's at least tell them about the one that you played on Friday.
Okay, sure.
Tell them about the one you played on Friday.
First, the reason I've been building a lot of decks is I've purged my collection of all the things I don't want. And I decided I had a bunch of half constructed.
Where'd you bring them? Where'd you bring those?
Oh
cards?
yeah. You still have to pay me for them, by the way.
He's not wrong.
But yeah, Tyler will buy cards, whether they're just singles you have laying around, or he'll buy collections too.
Yep.
Definitely recommend it. He'll give you a good price. But yeah, they're sitting in a store right now.
I'm so sorry, I forgot. I'm so sorry. But that's a great thing about having your friends sell your cards. Is like, I'll get to it, when I'm able.
Yeah, it's good.
But yeah,
it's all good.
Sorry.
But yeah, and so I had all these like half constructed decks laying around,
Yeah.
and I'm like, why are these half constructed? Like, sure, if I wanted to build them like super well, I'd buy a bunch of singles and do that. But I also have these like good enough cards that I could fill out the deck with.
Yeah.
And I just did that. So I built Verena Lich Queen Zombie Tribal. I built Wart the Raid Mother Gruul Storm. I built I have pretty much the entire Kodama deck that I was talking about in our Kamigawa set review. I just need the Kodama. And then the deck I played last night was Kaneos and Tiro of Melitus, which
often referred to as K&T.
Yeah, K&T. The gay boys, I love them. The commander is unimportant. I am playing it for the colors.
Most of the time, that commander's played in a playstyle called Group Hug.
Yep.
Because it has abilities where your other opponents get positive effects.
It also gives you those effects.
But it gives you the effects too, right? So.
Yeah. The commander is unimportant, though. I'm playing it primarily for the color combination, and that is all of the 4 colors but black.
Yep.
So it's white, blue, red, green.
Yep.
And I built a token deck.
This deck is so nutty. I love it.
And the purpose is not to make it's not to make a lot of just regular tokens, right? The purpose is rather to play really good creature cards and then make token copies of them to get their effects a second time, and then populate those tokens to make even more copies.
So populate is a mechanic in Magic that you can create, another token of a token you already control.
Yep.
So you're using cards like Quasi-Duplicate, is probably like...
Yep, Quasi-Duplicate,
what's the 9
Replicate,
mana one? What's the 9 mana
Clone
one?
Legion.
Clone Legion.
I do have a Clone Legion. I also have some regular clone cards because they also work a little bit with the theme, and then I can also just make token copies of them.
It's not technically a token deck as much as it's a copy the shit I play because the shit I play is really good.
Yeah, and then so the idea is I want to have 3 rampaging Baloths on the field, so that every time I play a land, I get 3 4/4s.
You gotta see my face, right?
Or I want to have a Solemn Simulacrum on the field, and I want to make a token copy of him every turn.
Yeah.
Or I want to make a Hornet Queen.
So there's Helm of the Host, but what's the other card that makes it there's a couple other ones. There's the blue enchantment and stuff like that makes a copy of it.
There's also I don't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but Growing Ranks, which populates at every upkeep. But yeah, I want to cast Hornet Queen and then make 3 copies of Hornet Queen, or put Helm of the Host on her so that she makes another 4 1/1 flying Death Touchers every time another one enters a battlefield. That's the theme of the deck. It doesn't work, but I love it. It's so fun.
He's playing 4 color good creatures that have effects when you copy them, because so that we talk about ETB, which is enter the battlefield effects on creatures. But that's the main thing that you want on your creatures.
Yeah.
Or
sometimes death triggers.
Or even static abilities that just have good, Yeah. But Spencer's been, he showed me this deck before he played it last night. And how'd you do in your pod?
I did pretty good. I ended up with multiple Tendershoot Dryads. But the Nylea player to my right, good old Mike, he comboed out and killed me. Yeah. Killed all of us in one go. It was very sad.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun still, and I am excited to play more of that deck. But yeah, those are my mains this week.
I'm excited to sit down and play against it, to be honest. You know?
Yep.
So
I'm excited to get Kodama up and running.
I mean, my mains this week, I'm going to speak back to one of my warm-up things that we talked about, which was how the business is going.
Yeah.
You know, we've only been in business for about 6 months. We opened in September of last year. January and February are traditionally the hardest months for game stores. Because
and y'all said fuck that.
Well, yeah, we've been killing it, which is awesome. Again, like last night, we had a full house, stuff like that. So that's one of my mains I want to talk about. The other I'm going to talk about, and part of it is because my best friend happened to, so I've spoken about my best friend Nick numerous times in pretty much every episode. Because
multiple times in every episode.
Yeah, he is my best friend, and we have so much in common and things like that. And so the thing that I'm
working on taking his spot.
He's trying. He's working on it. Yeah. Nick, you got competition. What are you gonna do? But
you gotta come up here, dude. That's the only way.
But Nick recently sold his house back home in Chattanooga.
Congratulations, Nick,
and has to get his butt out of there before the end of the month. So I am driving down. Actually, so after this podcast, after we get done recording, I'll be going straight to bed.
It is 1:30 in the morning.
It's 1:30 in the morning right now. I'll be going straight to bed. I will be, as soon as I wake up, I'll be jumping in my car, and I'll be driving about 7.5 hours to Bowling Green, Kentucky, because that's where he's going to be moving. He's moving back in with his dad for now until he figures out, where he's going to go. And I'm going to drive to Bowling Green. He's going to drive the rest of the way to Chattanooga. We're going to rent a U-Haul. We're going to pack his stuff up, put in the U-Haul, and I'm going to drive the U-Haul back to Bowling Green for him. So that's the biggest reason why I'm going to be there. That and he just misses me. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I wanted to talk about my boy Nick. I got to bring him up in at least every episode.
If at any point during your travels you feel the need, or you feel tired, give me a call and I'll scream at you.
Oh yeah.
For about 5 minutes until you're good.
Oh no! I mean, if I'm driving,
I've always got your back.
The great thing is I have the Bluetooth, connection to my radio.
Always love that.
And so worst case scenario, I'm just gonna put the podcast on.
Hey, you need a playlist?
I mean, I
could send you mine.
I'm just gonna put the podcast on. I'll just listen to myself talk.
I mean,
because I'm narcissistic like that.
Let's be honest. You're gonna skip through those parts so that you can listen to me talk.
I'm gonna
because you're gonna be missing me already.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. Like, I mean, you're gonna go to bed and be like, "Damn, where my boy at?"
Yeah, but yeah, that's my mains this week. Is I'm really happy with where we're at in the store. Like I said.
Yeah, and congratulations on the move, Nick. I know I haven't met you yet, but you sound like an awesome guy.
Yeah,
so.
and then I get to. The other part about that too, which is really cool, is I've lived here for 4 years. And for the first 3 years I lived here, I only went back home once a year. And now, not every circumstance was the best circumstance. Obviously, my father passed away in November, like we talked about. But I've literally been back home almost once a month for the past 4 months. So I went back in. It actually has been once a month. So I went back home in November.
Yep.
For my dad's funeral. I went in late December, to pick up my girls, bring them here for 10 days.
And then you went
in early January, I took them back home, and then now it's February, and I'm going back home again. So I get to go home. I get to see, hopefully, I also get to see some family. I'm going to see my girls when I'm there, which is awesome for me. I love my girls to death, and that's been one of the hardest things for me, being a father. And being so far away.
I can't imagine. I mean, I don't particularly want kids, but if I had them, I cannot imagine being that far from them.
But the great thing about it, man, for me is, and this is what
you probably appreciate your time more with them, right?
Oh well, no, I appreciate, but no, yeah. What I'm going to speak to on this though is so many people, and this is just from my own personal experience, and I hope that it can translate to you in life. Is your stereotypical scenario when you have, a divorced couple that has kids, stuff like that, they usually, bicker, fight. Sarah, is my ex-wife, and her husband's name is Aaron. and if you guys see this, hopefully you will at some point. Dude, I am blessed. I am so blessed that like
That's really good.
they are my friends.
That's
Like we have an amazing co-parenting relationship and friendship
that is
to
so
the point where like when I took my kids back, like I could tell both of them that I love them, give them a hug when I left, like Aaron and me, you know, because that's the thing is like some people have that point of contention in their head, you know, of things like that. We don't have that. Me and Aaron don't.
I'm really glad to hear.
Yeah,
that.
me and Aaron don't have that at all. Like me and Aaron are boys, you know, and we talk about the shit that we like, you know, when we're around each other and stuff like that, and we talk about our kids, and you know, for example, they have their own son, you know, so it's my two daughters, and then they have a son together. We don't treat the kids any different.
That's good.
We don't use the step moniker, for example, like the you know, Chrissy, my wife, is not stepmom, it's Mama Chrissy. Aaron is not stepdad, it's Daddy Aaron. Like he's daddy.
I like
you know,
that.
as
That's,
well.
That's good.
Because he's there every day with him and stuff. You know, stuff like that.
How young are your kids again?
So my two daughters are 8 and 5.
Okay. Yeah. So they are younger. So that makes a lot of hearing that gives me a lot of comfort as a kid of a divorced couple.
Yeah.
My parents were also really amicable in their divorce, and I actually really like talking about it because I admire them so much. They were really progressive about their divorce. You want to know what they did? So instead of passing custody, right, my mom got an apartment in the same neighborhood, and they went back and forth. Me and my brother stayed at the house we grew up in, and my parents would switch from the house to the apartment.
Whoa, that's awesome.
Yeah, my dad would be there during the week. Or no, he would be there during the weekend because he always worked during the week. And my mom would come during the week for like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Dude, that's amazing because you think about most people want their personal space and things like that.
But like they put us before everything else, and
that's what we try to do.
Like I don't know how much of a sacrifice that was for them, and I don't know how much different it would have been had it been the other way around. But I appreciate it so much because I don't know what kind of sacrifice it was for them to do that, but honestly, it really wasn't that hard, and they still are good friends.
I mean, as someone who
my mom will still come over and when I was still in high school and I wasn't driving yet, she would come over to pick me up, and I wouldn't be ready yet, or we didn't have plans for another hour, and they would talk in the living room for 40 minutes while I was still playing video games.
And that's
that's
really
their
awesome.
relationship,
and that
makes me happy.
And that's the cool thing. That's what me and Sarah understood with each other.
I love that.
Is that we came together at a certain point in life. We made 2 beautiful children. Okay. But not everyone is your forever, and that's okay. But her and Aaron are I am so happy. And this is, I just want to speak on it from my personal standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
I am so happy to have Aaron be a part of their lives, her life, everything. Aaron is an amazing guy, and just such a good person. We recently had some things we talked about with my daughter where we had to have a co-parenting issue. We sat down on my birthday, which again thank you guys for watching the birthday podcast, but this is a couple days after my birthday. We sat down on my birthday as a co-parenting couple and had a video conference together to make sure how to handle a certain situation. I'm not going to go into detail about it because that doesn't matter for this podcast, but that's what we did. We sat down and we all talked about it together. And again, at the end of the thing, it was hey, me and Aaron were talking. I was hey man, love you, bro. Talk to you soon. I love that. I love that we have that so much because as someone who was from a divorced parent situation on the opposite end that didn't have what you had.
Yeah.
My parents.
I can't.
My parents were at each other's throats kind of thing. This was early '90s, right? Yeah. So it was a little bit different, and people had different philosophies and things like that. And now they grew as we got older and as we actually became adults. They worked out their differences and things like
That's
that.
Good.
But but during our childhood, yeah, it was it was what it was, and so yeah, I'm so blessed and so thankful to have that situation in my life where um, I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about if this person is going to get mad and like there's so many situations. There's so many situations. And I hate it. I hate this. There's so many situations where kids are used as a weapon. And it's like
so unfair for them.
It is like the kids are put in this really bad situation, and the mom or the dad, whoever happens to be the person who has custody, uses it as a weapon. You can't see your kids, this whatever, and that's all the parent wants to do, and so I'm so blessed to not have to worry about that.
Yeah,
like
awesome.
I can literally, if I don't have the time all the time because I live up here. I live 700 miles away. It's a 10-hour drive, and I have my business. I have all this stuff going on. I can't, but I literally can if I decided to jump in the car at any point, drive down there, and say I want to spend time with my kids.
Not a problem.
No questions. No questions asked. Anything. Actually, if anything, they'll be like, "Hey," and I'll give an example. Like we've talked about this for the future. So like, their son is really young. So my daughter's 8 and 5. KJ's only 2. Okay. So he's still super young. But we've talked about it, like when they get older, especially because they're a core group of kids together. He gets a little bit older, and my daughters start coming up here and visiting, and he wants to come, no problem. And I'm not going to treat him any different. Like he's going to be, I'm going to treat him just like my kids, because he's awesome. Like literally, dude, I go down and visit. Like he calls me daddy as well.
That's good.
And like it was funny because like the last time I was down there, I was dropping the kids off. He's talking to me about, and he says daddy something, and he starts talking to me, right? And Aaron, his dad, his actual biological father, says, what buddy? He says, not you daddy, other daddy. And he goes, oh, I'm so sorry, like
what a mad lad. Dude, that kid's gonna be that kid's gonna be sharp.
Oh, the kid's awesome. The kid's awesome, right? And so me and Aaron just kind of look at each other and we just laugh. And it's just like but like there's another scenario. Like I went down there and I literally wanted to. When I went down for my father's funeral, I went to spend the majority of the day with my girls, and part of that was like I went and bought pizza, and we were going to sit and watch movies together and stuff like that. So we're all cuddled up on the couch. I got one of my daughters here, one of my daughters on this side, and KJ just comes up and crawls in my lap, and we just sit there and watch the movie together. And
that's nice.
I love that. I freaking love that we have that relationship with everybody, and there's no jealousy, there's no anything like that. Good. And my ex-wife, her husband, are blessings in my life. I love them so much. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Well, I think with that we should move into the ability cooldown of the episode. We've kind of already cooled off of the topics for today.
Cooled off the topic, yeah. We've gone off on our tangents.
Yeah, we always do.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I want to get into with our ability cooldowns and make a big thing from moving forward, and this is Spencer's idea earlier. So, this is episode 4.
This is episode Quattro.
We talked about this earlier, and this is something that we're going to talk about in every episode now. And the ability cooldown is our next episode. Like that's one thing that we haven't been doing is telling you guys what's going to go on the next episode, and partially that's because we didn't know. To be honest, we didn't know.
You guys think there's so much more prep involved?
No, it was flying by the seat of our pants. Like
we were gonna record this on Thursday.
Yeah.
We had a call Wednesday night at midnight, and we were like, "What should we talk about?"
Yeah, we were like, I called him. I was like, Spencer, what are you doing? He was like, nothing. I was like, we don't know what the hell we're doing tomorrow, right? And he was like, you're right. Like, what should we do? So like,
and we figured it out, and here we are.
Yeah, and we decided on it because you had just come out of your D&D campaign.
Yeah, like, I was playing. I actually, I don't think I actually told them all of. I think I told them about half of the games I'm actually in, but I was playing a Star Wars game in the Fantasy Flight rendition of Star Wars. Mm-hmm. It's got all different kinds of dice. It's cool. I like it. I play a Jedi. He's pretty sick.
Yeah. It's definitely an evolution to the one I played 10 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, because yours was a D20 system, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is totally different. You have like dice pools of like a bunch of D12s and D8s.
Speaking of that, I'm just going to
pretty
show
rad.
this real quick. This is a really cool. This is my personal D&D set.
Mm-hmm.
So this is actually made by a company called Reaper Miniatures.
Oh, I love Reaper miniatures.
And so this is
I bought a giant ferret from them.
This is their Pizza
few months
Dungeon
ago.
dice. Okay, and actually it comes with a little character which I don't have in here anymore because my buddy wanted it. Because it was the D8 guy, and he had like a mace, and it was
Nice.
it looked like it was barbarian or whatever. Or, no,
I love it.
No, it's cleric. He was playing a cleric, and his cleric had a mace, and he was like, "Can I have that to use as my mini?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." But it comes with a little miniature in here plus your full set. So again,
Nice.
we have the D20, the D6, D12, D10, D8, D4, and then what's the D10? It's
Percentile.
the percentile. Exactly. So that's your D&D set of dice.
Also called a polyhedral set.
Yeah, as you can see, also as you guys know, what are my favorite colors?
Black and red,
Black and red, baby. So that's why this is my personal set of D&D dice or RPG dice. So.
But yeah, also for the ability cooldown, I'm super excited to have for next week a music episode. We're going to be talking about nerd music, but also just our favorite kinds of music, our experience with music.
Sorry, I hit a button and G-Hub popped up, so I was like, but it
you're
looks like
good.
it's still recording.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. But yeah, my buddy Max, friend for I don't know how many years now, good friend for a long time, and
who we offended recently.
yeah, I did call him a slow player, but
Weird. He was more offended by the slow part.
He was more, well, that's because he is weird.
He is,
and he knows it.
But you're Max, and we talked about this.
But he is getting better, and
you're weird in a loving way, like I
mean, normal's boring.
Exactly, we love your weirdness. Like we absolutely love your weirdness.
If I didn't, I wouldn't be friends with him.
Exactly, Max, you're amazing. I love that you're a patron of the store. So
can't wait to have you on next week.
Can't wait. And Max will actually be sitting right here.
He'll be
between us.
He'll be sitting in the middle.
Sitting in the middle.
But
we'll have to adjust the camera a little bit. But
yeah. Another thing I want to mention. The reason we're having Max on is he has a Facebook page that called House Music Saved My Life.
Yep.
He goes by XWellDo on there.
Yep.
And he once a week does a love interest of the week, he calls it, which actually inspired our segment This Week's Mains.
Yep, that is the inspiration for that, absolutely.
And what he does is he primarily talks about house music kind of stuff, a lot of EDM, but some other kinds too. And he selects a new piece every week, and he does like a deep dive on it in text form. He's been doing that for a while now. He's really good at it. He recently got some like art for his page done. It's really cool. You guys should check it out if you guys are music lovers. And also, there is a possibility that I might become a second writer on that page.
That's
and
awesome.
Do my own little article every once in a while. I think it'll be like monthly to start out. I'm not sure.
And I'll just speak to like my personal experience with Max. You know him way more from other things.
Yeah.
But getting into I knew we were going to do this episode with him at some point. So I got to test out. I got to see how the flow is going to go, right? Mm-hmm. So me and Max one day at the store, we started talking about music, and I introduced him to he introduced me to some songs. Like I have a text thread on my stuff with him, right, where he's introduced me to some songs too. But I introduced him to some songs one night. And it was really cool because, even though, he has a particular type of music that he prefers, he also has a very eclectic ear like you and I do. We like to hear different types of music. Like, I grew up in the South, for example, so I listen to a lot of country music in my spare time at certain times, but I listen to, pop, rock. I listen to everything, right? Listen to the EDM stuff, everything.
My all playlist has rock, pop, rap, metal, EDM, sea shanties, folk music, game soundtracks.
Don't even try to get me on some Luda, man.
Ooh.
I'll pop off on some Luda on you. But anyway, my point though is with Max. I introduced him to a couple songs, and I'll talk more about this in the music episode. But I want to at least bring up that there's an artist that I'm really, really, really connected to right now. His name's YX.
Yep.
He started out as a TikToker. He also has a YouTube. You can look at YX Official on YouTube.
Yeah, really funny guy, but his
Super funny
actual
guy.
music is
Yeah.
also really, really
Yeah,
good.
like his TikToks are all about being funny and like messing with his girlfriend, stuff like that. But then he has some actual songs that he's put out, and they are powerful. I mean, they are like emotionally so powerful songs. I mean, YX, if you ever see this, bro, I love you, and honestly, like you, dude, that song PTSD, like saved me at one point because like I literally listened to it for 30 minutes straight on repeat. Like I listened to that just on a loop for 30 minutes straight with my earbuds in. I just laid there and I listened to it because it speaks to, and I'll actually put a link and stuff in the description when we do the music one. I'm definitely gonna put a link to at least that song or maybe his page or whatever. But yeah, like I showed YX to Max, and Max was like, "This is dope," and it was really cool. And then he started, sharing music back with me, and I was like, "Bro, this is dope." I'm like, I'm gonna add this to my playlist. So yeah, so next week we're gonna be getting into the nerdiness of music, and so one of the things that we want to bring up, I just want to bring up before we get off of this, and so you guys understand, when we talk about nerdiness or geekiness, whatever, right? Because we're gonna have an episode in a couple episodes. It's we call it the broadness of nerdity. Okay. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's music, video games. The things that most people encapsulate in nerdiness. You guys know, right? But there's nerdiness. Like we even talked about. You even brought you. This was your exact words you said earlier. Like jocks who do like
Fantasy sports.
Fantasy sports, like that is a nerdiness of sorts. It's the same thing as like trying to play D&D, but like nerdiness.
I have a
sports like
I have a philosophy about what being a nerd is, that it's not about the content that you enjoy, but rather it is your interaction with a medium, right?
Yeah.
So like fantasy sports, you cannot tell me that fantasy sports isn't like the nerdiest thing in the fucking world
for sports fandoms. Yeah,
like, but it's for sports, which you always, people always akin to like athletes and stuff.
Well, they disassociate, right? They disassociate nerdiness and sports,
but
right?
that's totally
but it's not true.
Not true, because what being a nerd is,
because we're gonna have an episode at one point on fantasy sports with my buddy Jack.
Yeah, I'm not going to know anything, but it's going to be fun because.
But you'll understand it once he starts talking about certain things.
I will understand.
You'll be able to relate to it. You'll be able to relate to it in the things that you know. 100%. Yeah,
and because here ultimately my perception of what a nerd really is it's about the passion and the interaction that you have with some mode of entertainment.
And
right,
so,
it's about being a fan of some kind of entertainment. So not even just fantasy sports, but just watching sports, or like being super into like even reality TV. Like if you're super into keeping up with the Kardashians, and like everything about like Kendall Jenner, for example,
you're a Kardashian nerd.
You're a Kardashian nerd, and you cannot tell me otherwise.
And that's the thing. And that's what we want to bring the light to and help people understand.
Yeah.
It has been used as a negative moniker for so long.
We are out here reclaiming it.
We are. We are changing the aspect and the understanding of what the word nerd is and what it means. We want you to be a nerd. We want you to be a nerd of whatever it is you're nerdy about.
Because I want people to bring passion. Because one of the things is one of the things that we want to do on this podcast is like we also want to talk about shit we have no clue what it is. Like I don't know anything about fantasy sports, but I'm excited to do our episode on fantasy sports when the time comes. Because here's the thing: if a guest that's bringing a topic to the table that neither of us, or maybe only one of us, knows a lot about, like if they have that passion and that drive and that knowledge to back that shit up,
because we get to learn too,
then we get to learn from someone who like wants to talk. And when you talk to someone who's passionate about something, it's so engaging even if you don't know about it.
Exactly.
Like when I talk about D&D to people, like if you've never played D&D, when I talk about D&D, I get so animated and so passionate about it because it's my favorite thing. Like, if I had to pick one thing in this world that is my favorite thing, Dungeons and Dragons, hand down.
Yeah.
Like, if I could do nothing else for
RPGs.
fun. No, even if I had to get specific.
Okay.
If I had to get that specific.
Because I mean, would you really want to give up Shatter and Star
no,
Wars,
but like
though?
if I had to pick one specific thing.
Right.
Dungeons.
But the point there is like that you can also like you can narrow it down just to RPG. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, yeah. I mean.
It's
a very hypothetical thing, anyway.
Right. The reason I bring,
yes.
the reason I bring that up, and I say that though, is because like you don't want to narrow it down that much, like because like my favorite thing in the world.
I mean, if I had the choice not to have to narrow it down that much, I would. But.
Yeah, like my favorite thing in the world is like making love to my wife, but like.
Hey, I mean, what?
No. But anyway, sorry, that's way off topic. But the point is like, oh well, if I could only do one thing and like can't play games anymore, like at least I got that. But yeah, but the point that I mean by that is like and what we're trying to bring up and what you guys and we want you to understand is we want you to have, and you use the word passion, the word I was going to use falls in that, but we want you to have that love.
Yeah.
That love, that passion, that desire.
Love and passion. Imagine Tyler doing the thing that he would only do. I want you to bring that to whatever thing you're nerdy for.
You ain't wrong, man. If it comes to my wife, love and passion.
Make love to magic. Make love to RPGs.
But really, like, but and when you're doing that, just what it does in general is making love to yourself in the sense of loving yourself and loving what you do. That's our overall goal of this podcast. We've talked about it numerous times. The overall goal of this podcast is we want people to accept themselves and accept what they do as being normal. We want to
and accept other people if it's something that you're not into.
But we want to erase that moniker. That's the point I'm trying to make. Is we want to erase the negativeness when it comes to being nerdy or geeky or however you want to look at it. Right? We want you to understand that it's okay to be that type of person in this life because we want you to have that type of passion.
And if someone's not cool with that, ask them why. I'm betting you 99%. They do not have a good reason.
No. So here, 99% of those people is because they don't have it themselves. The reason why they can't give you a true answer is because they don't have that love and passion for the same.
Oh no, that would be a reason, but that's not what they're going to tell you.
No, that's not what they're going to tell you. But the point is like people who try to tear you down. Most of them that try to tear you down and try to tear down the things that you love is because they
lack that passion. They lack that love.
Yeah, they lack that passion and that love in their own lives,
And they need to find something to be nerdy for.
Yeah. But here's the thing. That's a great thing about it is you can help them do that. Maybe you introduce them to your passion, your love. Maybe you help bring them in on something because you have that knowledge. Like for example, like with Spencer, with his love and desire for RPGs, like you're talking about, man, like, yeah, I played, but like I told you, my last campaign was 7 years ago. But after tonight's episode and us talking and hearing you talk about it, dude, I'm like, fuck, I want to play again. Like, I can't wait to get back and use my dice,
Use the click-clack math rocks?
Yeah, exactly. Like, but I mean, I also, like, again, I just want to use my voices and stuff, too. But, like, I can't wait.
Smell you.
Yeah. I'm going to get you, my pretty. No, but yeah, like, the end of it, like we said, overall for us is for you guys to just, we want you to enjoy life, man. We want you to be happy.
And we want you to enjoy it with us. And like we always say, this is a podcast, and it's just two guys sitting in a room talking to each other. But we want to make this more than that. So tell us your experience with RPGs. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, what systems you play, what systems you want to try. And let me know if you'd be interested in playing a few 5e modules.
Yeah, especially out of Slypatch. The big thing, the big ending here is comment. You know, we want you to like, we want you to subscribe. We appreciate those.
We always want the feedback.
But we want the comments from you guys because we want to interact. We want to help you guys grow, and it helps us grow. So
this is a two-way street. This is a two-way street.
It's a two-way street.
As always, stay happy, stay healthy. We love you so much. Be safe out there in this crazy world. And we will see you next time. Peace.
Finger guns.